here we go. I was setting up the video and then my fingers got crazy and boom. It's 12:20 a.m. Oh, no, not a.m. 12:20 p.m. So 12:20 a.m. Just 12:20 a.m. I'm a lot of the commands and stuff that we've been making in the past 48 hours. I've noticed that they're flipping from like AM, PM, especially in like my TikTok videos. So it's like I'll be on there posting something and I'll say it's I'll accidentally put PM instead of AM on a few of them, but I never accidentally do anything. So when I accidentally do it, I go back and look at those videos and go, all right, so what's going to happen at that time? This is a blackout. I don't have my face on it. It's January 16th, and I was on live on TikTok yesterday 2 different times. And a lot of y'all were on there. And I mean, I must have been on TikTok for at least more than 5 hours. I don't know. It's really hard to tell on those TikTok lives how long you've been on them. It doesn't have a clock like this does. And I knew the second time that I went online and I opened a live late last night and ended it around 12:20 a.m. probably. Now that I'm thinking about it, might even be why I said it. It was 11:59 p.m. exactly whenever I looked down when I was finally hanging up from the last one. 11:59 p.m. and then which would make it 12 a.m. this morning. So I knew that we hung up, right around there. So this could even be me picking up the chain. So crazy I just said that because chain and China. And I've made that connection before because it ain't a hard one to see. But that Babylonian China and China thing popped up in my head this morning whenever I woke up. Hi, guys. When I got on that second live, I knew that the reason I was even on it and all of us were connected was because what you'd consider Star Crew and like your ascended collective that works in the unseen. Our bubbles are connected all over, just like that mall that we talked about with the marshmallows, and we had planted each marshmallow in those different fountains in that mall, that little bitty marshmallow. And then we gave it about 6-7 months or about 6 years. And then those marshmallows started building together and then created linking patterns between the marshmallows and little bitty channels. Well, now with all of our abilities and the beings that are on the planet that you might not even know, because it don't matter, we're working together in the unseen to be able to pull off crazy, crazy things that most people don't think humans are able to do. Well, the problem is that the government made us this way. The problem is that the beings that are doing this, the beings that are leading this, the beings that are teaching everybody this, were winter soldiers in your government system, except it goes far beyond winter. The government was hybridizing and making big groups of collectives. So I know for a fact with what just came out, somebody just sent me about Trump. Just name Sylvester Stallone, Mel Gibson, which, by the way, that's the Gibbs crater on the moon. And John Voight. His Hollywood ambassadors. Okay. John Voight was 1996. He was on the movie set, Varsity Blues, with me in Austin, Texas in 1996. Whenever I almost died, had to get rushed to the emergency room because my body was freezing to death. And after 1996, everything went sideways in my world. Then all of a sudden, I end up going into corporate staffing. I end up moving to Houston. Now 4 years later, I'm in the middle of the Exxon Mobil deal. I've been thinking John Voight on that movie, Varsity Blues, which I was on the set. I was on it for 6 weeks. The other thing with that is that Ali Larter, that was her first. It was Ali Larter's first movie. It was Paul Walker's first movie. Well, Paul Walker be deceased, supposedly. And he was connected into the Fast and Furious movies, which, by the way, Momoa ended up being in later on. And Ali Larter leaves the Varsity Blues set, goes directly to Canada for Final Destination to start Final Destination series. And then she completely disappears from the world. Completely. Nobody's heard, nobody's seen her. She hadn't done anything. Now, all of a sudden, all this is coming back in. We got John Voight in the White House and Ali Larter on Landman. This plan and what they're rolling out right now, and I know that most people know this because this is how the Masons work and this is how the Illuminated ones do it. I mean, you've got to, it's the biggest movie production ever in the history every single time they pull it off. So, I mean, we know for a fact this one's 30 years in the making. I mean, I that was a gimme, but I just told everybody so you've got a little bit more connection with it. What they're doing right now has been their plan since 1969. And beyond that, because they had to plan to get to 1969. But on the ground, as far as them having beings on the ground in order to mingle in with in 1969, a bubble lined up, and it's like that movie, Another Earth. There's this old movie that the OA actress was in. I can't remember what it's called now, and it might be called Another Earth. I mean, in the movie, it's like everyone was on Earth, and you look up, and there's another Earth right above you, and it's just parked there. And it's bigger than the moon. It's a planet, and it just comes into the sky, and it's just parked there. And everybody on the ground is tripping out because it's like, what the heck? Like, there's Earth. It's up there. Well, then they start trying to communicate with it. And when they communicate with it, it ends up mirroring everything exactly. So the lady that is going, hi, this is so-and-so, and I'm messaging you from Earth. Then the one on the other side is going, hi, this is so-and-so, I'm messaging you from Earth. Well, 1969, that had already been lined up. It had been lined up in the 50s because they were having, it's kind of like you got to go like inch by inch by inch to line up something so big up for something so small. Now, remember also that the timelines are all screwed up and really you have no idea how long we were really in the 50s. So they started beaming in and crashing certain characters in from that one up there onto the land. By 1969, most of them were down here. 1969, then from 1969 to 1996, all those beings that are coming in from the other Earth are going to be the ugly ducklings down here. No one's gonna give them the time of day. They're not gonna be able to get anything done. They're gonna be the ones that aren't getting any praise. They can't get anything going because it's not their realm. They're not tuned to this reality. They were the odd men out until 1996. 1996. They had to wait until 1996 in order to flip 1969. So basically, when all those beings came into our realm, and then we were like, didn't even see them because there was maybe one per, I'm hearing 500,000 that came into this bubble. Well, by 1996, there were so many of them that we became the ones obsolete. We became the ones that there were so many of them from 1969 to 1996 that are holding that other bubble way up there. That all of us that were down here that were on the original Earth, we stopped being able, their energy was taking the whole thing over, okay? And then everything from 2020 on has been full on takeover. Because the healings that we were doing were actually opening up both circles. It wasn't going to be this one or that one. Both of them were now up for grabs. And when we talk about a pole shift, then I really think that's what it is. I think every pole shift that we had in history, because this ain't a pole shift, this is a solar ascension. A pole shift would be what I just said. Which group of those bubbles lined up is going to be controlling the bubble? If the control of the bubble is not happening on Earth, then it's going to pull it to one side or another, and then it's going to move it sideways. And I've thought that John Voight has been playing Trump some. And Angelina Jolie and GIA and her movie Gia, which ended up being my company's name, GIA, down the road. And that model and that movie being about Poppy and all that and what happened in Afghanistan and all that mess, it's all connected. Now, I started this video because when I got on that live, I told everybody our intention, as soon as I got on there, it was like, okay, Star Crew is on. I'm on TikTok live right now because when I'm live, I'm interfacing with the tech. And our energy is running through the tech lines. So everybody that's on the live with me, wherever you are, and energetically, however that internet line is running through to stream and connect and be on that live, we were basically in the consciousness of that tech with the intention to figure out how to take down international firewalls. My intention when I got on that TikTok last night was to take down international firewalls and figure out how the hell they're doing it, because we've already unplugged the internet. I don't care if you believe me or not, but my body was made to be the internet. The internet was only supposed to be down here in order to line up that bubble over there and this one down here. All that's been going on is a power play of the group that's been managing this shift. This had nothing to do with Earth, people. It had nothing to do with humans, what's been going on the past 4 years. It had everything to do with the groups that were the groups that were aware that there was this back and forth that's been going on since 1969. The power plays that were going on and that are still going on are only from the groups that are well aware or created or established this whole thing to begin with, to line up over Earth. From one perspective, it's an alien ship, and that's how it started out. And then help arrived. So then you've got an alien ship, and then you've got entities that are fighting this magnetism thing that is now interrupting the Earth cycle. One of the first things that I saw when I hung up off that live, and I reposted it on TikTok in my reposts. It's an article that's talking about Saturn and Saturn's rings. Well, I've been talking about Saturn's rings every so often over here for the past 6 or 7 years, because Saturn's rings are this weird ass record that was running in Aries, and we even had to redo 0 to 3 Aries, which is the start of the record. So it's basically like the Saturn record, the start of the record, the first song on the outer part of the record, the whitest song, the one that goes, the very first one on the record. We had to rewrite the whole song. We had to take out all the lines, rewrite the whole song, and basically change the whole record, because that alien ship had taken over the reality settings down here to make them manifest, not us. According to that report, it's saying, and I can't remember what year they're saying, but it's been in the years that I've spoke about on here. They said that there is a theory that Saturn had been taken over a long time ago by what we would call some type of alien race, okay? And Saturn's rings, so basically the Saturn, because Saturn and the planetary system works together and it's one big system. So if you come interfere with one planet, then you're interfering with the whole system. Well, the human race, just in how they did everything on Venus, ruined Venus a long time ago. The human race, and how and how through mythology, through whatever, and then even Venus ended up being the head of the whole thing in the skull and bones. And Venus is how you print things down here, and how you make it, and how you a vibratory in that makes things real. It holds a structure in order to print it. So the human race had screwed up Venus, like in and of themselves. So Venus wasn't even in the soup. Well, when Venus isn't in the soup, then it's pretty easy for other beings to come in and start messing. If the human race messes with the planets, and over time it's been going on so long that everyone worshipped it so much and didn't do anything for it, basically, then Venus in and of itself, I mean, was dark. It was dead. I mean, it's woken up through the middle of all this the past 7 years, but Venus was completely dead. It was not working in the system. And the only way that would be able to happen is like something like this was happening with Saturn. So I just wanted to add that in there though, because it's not just, I mean, anyway. They're saying that Saturn's rings, they think possibility could be formed because this entity race that came in to tap into Saturn was doing it and basically messing with the technology and putting in a frequency into the human race that would be like re-engineered technology that they were fleshing through Saturn. And the manipulation in the human race with this, whatever it is that they did, basically Saturn was having to back it up. Saturn was like the backup system. The rings of Saturn were the backup system, the backup timelines that were manipulated. The ring system was backup timelines that were manipulated. 2020, Saturn and Pluto were conjunct in Lyra 3. Lyra 3 and 20 degrees Capricorn is basically Deneb Peacock. Broadcasting. Now, not just broadcasting per how you would think broadcast on a TV, because, yeah, they did that a long time ago. You can broadcast through anything, really, in a quantum field. You can also broadband it. So it's like broadcasting. In order to broadcast a spell, you would need to broadband the energy. So in the 60s and 70s, we got a television. It's brand new. It's black and white. We had television. Television was your broadcasting. You were only getting casted while you were watching television. In the early 2000s, what they did is banned it. They broadbanded it. And a lot of this was hooked into Austin, Texas, and Lake Travis, B Caves Road. The road is B Caves Road. It goes out to Lake Travis. The road is 2222, literally. It's 2222. And it is the most winding, cool road. It's a cool road, but it's a trip. You on 2222. It's like the connection from Austin into Westlake. Westlake is like their uppity little area that's right around Lake Travis and Bee Caves, because this is not a cheap area to live. However, when we're talking about internet, broadband, telecom systems, telecom corridors, any type of infrastructure within the broadband internet system, most of it was masoned from down here in Texas and held from down here in Texas. Almost like the top of a pyramid, and then that pole is holding those broader bands. Well, and then broadband became, blockchain. Are you following me? Then broadband with through all the internet stuff that we did for forever, how long we were doing it, and then we created the .com craze, and then everybody, what happened in the 2000s? Everybody was looking for .com real estate. Literally, the whole world went into unseen real estate. Domains were being set up. Well, here's the thing. Domains were being all run from one entity. And the domains in the beginning of .com and what you call domains, a main, so like hitting the main line, those were being run from a company called IAC. And this was in 2012, because what the company that got stolen wasn't just a staffing company. I was entering into a deal, and I was building a new, basically it was going to start out a dating site, but it would have ended up taking over LinkedIn and Facebook. It ended up being Facebook in the end, but it's not, because that's what they built, but it's not what it was. It had everything that's out here, should have had more bells and whistles. You've got the watered down version of everything that can be made in every instance. The housing, the architectures, the technology, the food, everything. Everything in the United States is watered down because they won't give you the full anything. Ever since they took over our little world. Now, IAC, because, see, I'm a time traveler, right? So I'm back in 2012. And even in 2012, I was channeling what was happening now, which is why I knew I needed to build that tech, okay? And so in 2012 with IAC, Back then, I finally came up with a name, and guess what I named it? Anu, Anu. Do you know that I didn't even know that that was the sun god? I had no idea. I was just looking for some real cool marketing thing, and it was like a new you. It's a new. It's new. It's in you. There it is. That's what we're gonna call it. And everyone around me was like, "What the hell? You know that that's some crazy like Egyptian sun god?" I'm like, "I don't care. It's what it needs to be called." Now, obviously, I came up with that for a reason. Okay. IAC at that point in time had .com, okay, which is what most everybody wanted a .com address because it was e-commerce and it was brand new and to most of the public it didn't even seem to be a domain in the United States of America unless it had .com behind it. However, IAC had all of those listed. They had .com, they had .tv. Now follow what I'm telling you. Listen. They had .com, they had .tv, they had .net, they had all these ones, .io, they had all of them. They had all of them back in 2012. However, according to IAC, which is running all the railroads on the internet, it's basically like the real estate investor that owns every single building parked on a domain in the internet. IAC, so I was like, okay, I want a new.tv then, for example. I don't want a new.com. Actually, I'll buy a new.com, but I'm going to buy the bundle. So I don't, now this is 2012. I need a new .com, I need a new .net, I need a new .tv because I need to buy all of them. You couldn't. You couldn't back then. You know why? Every single one of those was associated supposedly with a country. They were trying to tell me that .tv isn't television, it's a country. They were trying to tell me that basically everyone in that country uses .tv, and .tv is associated to that country code. You can't use .net, that's a different country code. You can't use .io, that's a different country code. Well, what do we have now? Wikipedia came up. Wikipedia was the biggest writing project ever in the history of the human race. And all at once, and I believe it said 2001, which actually makes a lot of sense. I'm almost positive it said 2001. Wikipedia downloads the largest writing project ever known to man into your internet system. And defines specific words that basically were throwing everybody off because it was most of those words and the definitions, according to the human race, it was kind of in a way it was a gimme. When you put it all into the internet, it isn't a big deal maybe in 2001, but by 2012 it's like everyone who wrote that and defined it and then put it in the system, it became dominant in the system. So it's like if the system's going to run, because they were planning for the system to run humanity. So it's like Wikipedia would be the instructions in the system to run humanity, not a conscious human. It would all have to be defined, and it's defined as the way that they want it written. Well, Wikipedia is one thing, Ascension Glossaries is another. Ascension glossaries came into my world in 2018 and became the mess that hinged me to Australia and Hawaii. They made me read those. Now, remind you that I wasn't fully aware that whatever I read and whatever I believe came through and connects. But there was specifically one being, a stone, her last name was Stone, that was in Australia that had evidently got paid to screw with me. And if you're watching, I'm under complete, that's what I think right now. So if it's not the truth, I'd suggest sending me an email and straightening it out. But I would lose the attitude that you gave me whenever I spent 3 hours on the phone with you this last time, and you were supposed to send me $150 to end this mess, and then you wanted my bank account number, and you wanted my account number so that you could send that money directly into my Prosperity bank account? Hell no, bitch. Now, mind you, we're all talking about international firewalls. Because what was happening down here is this whole earth was being run as a corporation, and everybody was in a department. Whatever country you were in. Whatever country you were in, this planet was being run like one big ass ExxonMobil. You had one country that was doing accounting. You had no idea what engineering was doing. You had one country that was doing engineering and had no idea what R&D was doing. And if you don't know what R&D, that's research and development. The company that was doing the engineering was not even involved in the testing. Had no idea that the other country, the whole country, was being tested. Another country is the one that has all the human energy and the Venus energy in order to print and make things real. And guess what country that is? United States of America. And specifically, Texas, the Panama Canal, and the tip of South America. And that's just per simulation in the tree and how this thing works. So with all this red book stuff that's going on, and with the propaganda that's been fed to each of the countries, and if you haven't noticed, all the other countries are being propaganded to hate the United States of America. All the other countries know about propaganda. All the other countries think Americans are ignorant because we don't know. Well, the whole world, y'all need to realize there's about 7 firewalls over our head, and we had to break the entire astronomical wheel and astrology system in order to get the United States of America out. And mind you, your government in every single country is the one that bound you to the United States of America. There ain't no country walking and operating independently down here. This is it hadn't been since Ascension started. It hadn't been since the year 2000, because that's when this process started. It didn't matter if the whole world was unconscious. They just went ahead and did it anyway. The only thing that happened is that we woke up just in time in order to change the last 4 years, so none of it would stick in the end for the ones of us who were coming out of the system. But it was a 20-year project, and we only woke up the last 4 years of it. I'm literally like it. 2022, when I was in Anaheim and they were cooking us and everything was connected into me. Do you know how I ended up blowing that false sun in the beginning, because we had to do it in different dimensions, because we basically, and you can go back and listen to my YouTube videos from around August and July of 2022. I'm on there in a frantic screaming to everybody. They put us in the sun, but it's the false sun. It's basically like all the sun children that are really sun children down here, we ended up going into a false sun because it was the only one here. Well, the problem with the false sun is that it's all digital and we're not digital. So in after days timelines and in simulations, you might have been able to put us up in a false sun and turn it on. But I'm sorry, is that Saturn? I mean, I've got pictures. We even appeared in the sun. I was on my knees. I was bent over. I was basically tied down. And then my team, and you could see all of them, they were behind me. Natalie was the one right behind me. She had the most power. And we held her hands up and we blew out. She blew me out. She blew us out of the sun. Now, the fake sun. Now, that happened in 2022. Do you know how I did the next part? Because basically, it's like you have to do it in dimensions. So it's like, okay, when we blew a hole in the sun, what do you have right now in the sun? A hole, a big one. When we blew a hole in the sun to get out of that fake sun, oh my gosh, it keeps getting swiped from me. Hold on. Oh, you know how Trump in 2020 and all of his election stuff and everything, he was China. It was very specific how he said it. China. Y'all remember that? Like in this last election, it was all Japan. I mean, it was so obvious to me. But China. I did that frequency and said it and basically was in his energy and it blew it. Like it even happened in my physical. Like when I did it on that day, because I had never really done it before, and everything was built up, pressure, built up, and everything was waiting to pop. And then I mimicked Trump, China, and it blew it. China thinks that Trump's their spy. China's like, okay, we sent Trump in to do it for us, to build up nations. That's fine. China looks great. China's getting built up. Then how did the United States of America become the third world country? Why is our president, and why was Biden? Because Biden wasn't giving any money to the Americas. Biden was giving all of our money to everyone else. Now we're very aware that pretty much not everybody works as hard as we do. Japan, different story, but I mean, it's Japan. So, I mean, what you've got the United States and all of us paying debt, paying interest. And I'll remind everybody that these companies that are now considered your billion-dollar companies, you know when they started getting rich? 2008. They didn't get rich off trading goods. They didn't get rich off trading services. They got rich because they were buying everybody's bad debt. They got rich from buying everybody's home loans that they knew in 3 years, 50% were going to lose their houses. And then they knew that if they owned your home and then you didn't have it, and then the bank gets paid back, they take your house, the bank gets their money, and then they get double paid. So while the internet is taking over internet real estate and they're twining up internet lines and making firewalls so that nobody in the United States knows who's mimicking all their stuff and selling it in China? They created firewalls so that those of us whose technologies and companies, identities were stolen over the past 4 years, all over the world, they're using our stuff and we don't even know about it. I mean, there's most likely for the real TikTok people, especially the ones that are doing spiritual information, because everybody right now, as far as a gross national, as far as everyone in the United States, everyone's under the assumption that the celebrities or the makeup girls or whatever, they're the ones that are really the ones that are being pursued for the next 10 years. No, 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 no. They already know that there ain't nobody coming in the industry that don't hold some power. You know why? Because management's gone. You can't even get in the industry unless you've got spiritual freaking power and you can do some crap. And I'm talking about the new industry. Because the only thing that's missing from any type of entertainment and all of that coming back online is management being gone. All management did was globally fuck everybody with magic. And I mean everybody. They were even globally fucking themselves. Now, if you can imagine all of those internet lines, and they're all segregated so that the right wing of the White House can't talk to the left wing of the White House, and the ones that are in the middle of the White House are the only ones that can hear things coming from the right and coming from the left. Now I'm going to drop that a dimensional layer closer to the human race, and that whole mess. Close your eyes. I'm sending you a vision of the internet cables, because those internet cables, they're connected into satellite cables, and then those satellite cables are like going through mountains. They're anchored at the bottom of the ocean. They're anchored in satellites on Sirius. They created all these other port stations and all this because why? They were little bitty beings able to fly around space. But you're inside somebody's body. You're inside somebody's body that is the template for the human race. So if you're attempting to keep everybody as a firefly so that you can travel in space, because you can't really travel in space the way they were traveling in space if you have an etheric body. You don't even need the money. You don't need the craft. You don't need crap. You can go up there and take a look-see anytime you want. There's where our $1 trillion is. This missing $1 trillion that the Obama group, which is tied deeply into this China thing, y'all remember, I'm going to bring it down to telecom. So if you've got all those internet satellites and they had port stations. I mean, I've got maps of this. Like the amount of in between jump stations and all this mess that they built out around Sirius is just insanity. It's insanity. When you drop all those lines into the human field, they become telecom. which is fine when you're in a simulation and everybody's a little bitty firefly and nobody's etheric bodies are blowing up, which is what it's supposed to be. And this is what time it is. This is why that ship arrived in 1969. All of those telecom lines are connected into satellites. Those satellites have ports and they had beings and they were shooting them in. Like this is the skinwalker stuff. This is the skinwalker stuff. They could only shoot them in under crescent moons though. Under crescent moons and eclipses. This is why you had Project Paperclip in Philadelphia. Well, Project Paperclip freaking works because I spun it. I spun Project Paperclip in California and it freaking worked. It worked. But all Paperclip is a bunch of eclipse paper clip together. They're paper clipped. Why are they paper clipped? Because the way they had it set up was the writing, a conscious human writing what that energy does now was taking control of the energetic. So when I see TikToks like I did this morning, and I've talked about this before in another reference, which I'll bring up again as an analogy, but and I've got a few. Number one, we shouldn't have telecom phone numbers anymore. Telecom industry should have been completely taken down. AT&T, Mintmo, all of them, Sprint, all of it. Why? Because all of it's running on a satellite inside our bodies, and they have been chronologically, as we've been connecting new tech, taking it over. Telegram became Telegram and what it is today because of 2018. And Telegram was not what it is right now in 2018. And it shouldn't be called Telegram. Now, there's a lot worker that's on TikTok that, because everyone's calling their congressmen. People are calling and reporting stuff now. Realize that all the reporting that's going on right now, our ascended collective manifested it. You know how? Every single one of us that were getting cooked and messed with in 2022 reported it. We were the first ones that went into the police station, first ones that walked up to Public Works in Anaheim and said, I know that y'all are cooking us and you need to call and da-da-da-da-da. I know that I'll give you another example. Natalie over in Detroit. Now, this is where we first saw this going on as a group. And if you were calling to report something like that to your local police department, they were rerouting your phone calls to the feds and the marshals. So Natalie, we already knew that they were doing that. So we knew that she couldn't call the cops. She had to go and tell them, and she did. What we did then is why everybody's reporting what they're doing now, because it's in the program. When this light worker called to attempt to tell the government, our government, living in the United States of America, do you know where they routed her? Nigeria. I woke up knowing, because see, the dragon in the center of the planet, and the dragon, it started out in China. We were in China for 7,000 years. We were under China for 7,000 years. Then the energy moved and was re-wrangled, and then we ended up, I'd have to pull it. Let me see. Just hold on. Let me see if I've got to dig in my drawer. I have all these written down. It went China, New Orleans, I think. I mean, we've got every single detail of this. I have every single detail of how they wrangled and tied up and knotted every single piece of space, y'all. Because we had to undo it. This is why this took 7 years. This is why most of the other starseeds were like, screw this, we ain't going to be able to pull it off, we're out of here. Well, if you look at the big ball yarn of wires that are around this MFer, like, you'd say the same thing. It's like, how are we going to get the one in the middle out? Well, I could have told you back then. You talk to me. You work with me. You talk to me directly. You don't talk to me through Nigeria, through Telecom, and through everything else. You get in my room with me. But I was the Starship Commander. I don't know where it is. I'll come back on and do another video, or maybe that information just no need to come out right now. But it's 3,000 years in China, and then it moved over at least 1,000 years in New Orleans, because in the core it just moves. Then it moved into Texas and Oklahoma. That's whenever they knew it was about to go down, because everything would have to line up where it started again. Just like being at 3 o'clock on a clock in China, but we got to get to 6 o'clock. And at 6 o'clock, it took 10,000 years to get to 6 o'clock. When it got to 6 o'clock, then Oklahoma and Texas did a Disney spell. Why? Because we had already completed the whole clock. It had already gone from 6, gone all the way around, back into 6, because this was a 1,000,000-year count. Why am I your star commander? Because I'm the one that was in the center of the planet. How did I end up being the star commander? Me and my collective manifested everybody to get out of this wheel. We even manifested the wheel. We even named the houses. We manifested every bit of this. None of y'all even knew we were in there. Y'all weren't going to help us out. You sure as hell weren't. Y'all are all still trying to keep us down in there because you don't want your world to change. But what you don't realize is keeping us in there kills you. And I'm talking DAE, I mean dead, if we wouldn't have pulled this off. In the other evolutionary counts, we were the feminine, we're the lamb. We're the innocent one. I'm the pure soul. I was pure the whole time. In fact, they didn't want to send me down here. Michael wanted to do it all. Michael said, no, we're not gonna send the lamb. No, me and Gabriel can handle it. No, well, thank God I was here, because Michael and Gabriel wouldn't have been able to handle it because everything went past 0 point. I was the only one that had all of the DNA and to be able to take down the Cabal and the reptilians, because I was the Arxiad. That's how far back I went. I was the only weapon that could be used against them to take down their DNA line. When I come here in an evolutionary ascension, most of y'all don't even know it's happening. Our characters have come in, and then you'll know us. Like Marilyn Monroe would be an optional example. We come in extremely feminine and wide open. We're here for the people, and we're the feminine. Well, my crews knew that. And I'm talking about the crews that screwed me over. I'm talking about that ship that lined up in 1969. I mean, I apologize right now to the whole world, but I mean, those are also your DNA lines, so I can't take the whole responsibility because they were getting their cues from the propaganda going down here. But I mean, my whole entire crew basically locked their star commander in the attic. And even the crews that I was manifesting in order to get me out were all seeing then once they got down here how much power they could have if they sold me out. And then there was always one who did. But then again, I'm the commander. Of course they're going to try. Especially when you're dealing with the narcissistic sixth root race bullshit that we were dealing with. Y'all know any man that's a narcissist that wouldn't have tried to steal the world from Chastia? I'm talking about me, the little blonde, the 5'2", the little one that nobody thinks matters, it seems. So I just described to you what's been going down here with women for I don't even know how long. How are y'all doing? I really don't know what's gonna happen next. I really don't. I'm beside myself. I'll be honest right now. Now the good news is I can see. I'm on here describing this, and I've been undoing this for a really long time from the inside out. But now I'm finally to the point again, coming out of the telecom lines. I'll also remind everybody that all the telecom lines were tied up in Sirius C. Sirius C in space. When I went full-blown dragon, July 2020, I went full-blown dragon up there. I was this massive black dragon, and I'm flying through Cancer. And I'm like, what is that? I'm flying through space. I'm supposed to be like wide open. There shouldn't be anything in my way. And I look, and it was just a little bit to the left. We don't want to be to the left. Keep saying right, 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 right. I mean, this is the left Reich. So they wanted everything to anchor a little bit left. Well, we're going right. And I'm flying, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And do you know what a rotary dial phone? If you remember what a rotary dial phone looks like, the face plate of a rotary dial phone, where you have the little plastic thing over the numbers and you stick your finger in the hole and then you like drag it around and then it rotates back. Well, if you took that face plate off of a rotary dial phone and blew it up into a giant like not cylinder, like, what do I want to say? Like, it looked like a giant seal, like a shield, like a big round. It wasn't the phone. It's just the plate. It's just the dials. And it was like inside the realm. I was like, what the hell? We had to move it out of the way. But when we moved it out of the way, then it's like they still, then what they did is they used us assets, hit us with the car, bro. I mean, this is how I ended up having a spinal 360. They took out my L4 L5 disc. First they hit me with the car in front of Bill Bank in order to wind the telecom back around, because we had already taken it out. See, this is also how everything got rewound back in Texas. But I mean, if I'm the template and everybody down here is evolving into my template, then you just evolved into a telecom line. From your L4, L5. Now, L4, L5 is also the connection between that hovering ship over your head from 1969 and what you'd consider the Earth. It's like that ship, I've been talking about the fact that like the top half of the wheel, if everything from Scorpio over to Pisces was being completely managed by warlocks and witches. It was 100%. I mean, that was the main thing that the past 4 years, and why our spiritual battles went to all out Tartarus, not even hell. Tartarus. You tie a high frequency being to Tartarus, they're going to be mad. They're going to be dense. And I'm not even talking about emotional. You take a high frequency being and you put them in Tartarus, which is nothing but density, then they end up charging the entire space time. They've never been able to not get away with doing this before. Are they still trying to do it? Oh, yeah. They can't even stop it now. This spell's been going for 30 years. What are you kidding me? It on Earth, whenever you come and you're changing a reality, because now what we're having to do is change it back. But you're not dealing with just land real estate. This is where I lost all of my shamans. Every single one of y'all through the ascension, man. I lost every single one of y'all. I lost every single elder. I lost anybody that was grounding into the trees. You wouldn't let go of the tree. You're hugging the damn tree. You don't want to hear anything about the technology and the frequency waves. You only want to talk about nature. And what you don't realize is that you're not even living where the tree is anymore. You're holding on. You're not even holding on to a tree. You're holding on to an electrical line that used to be a tree, but now is a dead person, which is why you want to hug it so damn bad. But then you won't think of the physics that go over your head, and everyone completely was ignorant to the real estate development that had gone on above your head. But you was all involved in it. Because if you had a domain and you was on the internet, you was traveling it. If you had a domain, then you had real estate. Why is all the real estate run by GoDaddy? GoDaddy just came and said, hey, Christy Birch, I know that you've been paying for these domains for 3 years, but you got all your access taken away, and whenever I go look up that domain, your information's all grayed out, and I don't even know it's yours, but it's still running. Yep, I got 3 of them. So that means I got 3 real estate in the system. And one of them, GIA Technology, since 2009, was the base root of the entire real estate system. Dealing with any type of gases, ExxonMobil, gas, GameStop, JCPenney's. XTO Energy, Fidelity, Amerisource Bergen. They call themselves ABSG. They do medical equipment around the world. Biden released a letter. They want to shut down TikTok to the people so that the government can use it. It's in writing. Biden, it's in writing. It's in a letter. Biden said that his team has been looking at the power of TikTok in the elections, and they want to basically take all the Americans off of it so that they can utilize it to bend elections. What have I been telling y'all since TikTok came out? It's not what it is. TikTok in the way that, because all your socials really are one social network. All your socials are one social network. Each social network is then connected to different country codes, different countries managing it, just like a big command center, just like a 1950s group of women in a telephone operating room at the and having to pick up a line and plug it into this to create a call. Except what the handlers and the scammers are doing, because see, this is where the handlers and the scammers and the identity thieves and the soul snatching and the soul theft and the destiny swapping, see, you really don't have to do nothing as long as you know the guys that are doing the plugs in the telecom room. Because the plug, whenever you plug it into that connection, you're not plugging it into a hard line. You're plugging it into a group of beings that the governments would say are the assets, and then they're delivering that information through you. Because that's how it works. And none of this had to happen. Or did it? The whole human race needs to realize that the G Corps did not have to come out. I've been screaming the G Corps came out since 2023. I don't think that everybody understands what that means. I know why you don't, because I don't even. And I'm the one who did it. There's not going to be any consciousness in the planetary system. They tried to bring in one world government, but realized that the world is being run by one group. It's been being run by 6 beings. The whole world, all the countries. The whole thing was working in one big corporate facility on a 24-hour time clock. With different parts of the world doing the different things at different hours because you think that you've got a different time zone. But what I'm telling you is no, it's happening all at once. We have a fake sun, we have a fake moon. That basically the fake sun and the fake moon, they're holes that are in the bubble, and whenever those holes line up, then that's when you have your full moon and your new moon. But for most of the world, the way your day turns into night is gonna change. Because we had 5 different Truman shows running, and they were like, okay, let's make it night now here so that it's day here. I mean, the whole thing was manipulated. Day and night is not in this new energy that we're in, connected out of a simulation. And as we come out of a simulation and we're living on this new realm, day and night are not going to be the way that they were, because day and night was basically just giving day and night to certain departments in the corporation. This also is going to end up manifesting, like in these different countries. We're going to start seeing, and we've already seen it, but I mean, they're going to come around and stay, because it's going to manifest different suns and additional moons, but it's not going to be the same for every country that we're seeing, because the people manifest it, and the people are used to seeing the dark at XYZ time and the light at XYZ time. And so it's like the human remembrance, and this is why this is remembrance. That's a big thing in the Mormon church, because, oh my God, do I have to talk about that next? Because that did come in all this. The remembrance of it is what keeps it going. So it's literally like the universe and the people are having a battle, and because the people think it's supposed to be day, and it's how it works, because you're coming out of those layers. So different countries are going to start seeing different things, because the people, and it's the people thinking that it needs to be the old way, and then they've been told it's supposed to be that way, that then creates a universal cosmic karmic battle with the people. And what I just said about the sun and moon is basically and everything in between. Now, what's come up, and because I was all wrapped up in this RLDS freaking Mormon crap. I was in the middle of all of it. I had a family line on that was Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Okay? The Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Well, the Mormons had all the records. The Mormons knew exactly who I was. The Mormons knew exactly where the real John Baptiste was, or who it should have been before he got taken out and hybridized into an MJ-12 character. Like, the boys got taken over. They didn't fuck with the girls as much. They just made more of us and made us an asset and made us forget. The men were being changed. So the Mormon stuff, and the reason I think I was involved with all of that is because of Zion. And in Independence, Missouri, there is 80 acres of pure land. I was there in 2017. As soon as I activated, my Uncle Dan died. Dan is the tribe of Dan elder. Dan and his family line is my great uncle. And my grandfather, Malcolm, was an elder. So I was surrounded by these elders in the church. When I was 8 years old, when you're 8 years old is when you get baptized. And I was 8 years old, I got baptized at the church and the words that are in front of the baptism is remembrance. Like I told you, I mean, not until 2017 did I have any remembrance of anything spiritual or any of my gifts. It was all hidden from me. And when I started uncoiling my journey, I saw what happened when I got baptized. Now, I don't know if this happened to everybody or it just happened to me because I happened to be inside that. I don't know. But what happened is as soon as I went underwater, there was two aliens and they looked like aliens and they were on my right side and they said, "Princess." And I turned my head to the right and I didn't move my head again. I didn't move my head from when I was 8 years old. So that would have been 1980, maybe 1981. In that area of space where I was when that happened, then fast forward to 1983, I got needles in my neck. I'm sitting in a chair and now they're putting me in an underwater gas chamber. Now, how that all got so misconstrued goes back to Brigham Young and the United States of America and everything that was happening with the Indians and then the different groups of settlers that were all coming into the United States. Both of them shedding a ton of blood. Both of them. The Indians were killing different Indians. Everybody was killing the white people. And then what were the Indians doing? Kidnapping the Mormon women. This whole Nephilim thing, when everybody's like, oh, if you have powers or if you say they're all archangels. I mean, there's people out there right now saying all archangels are demons. And I'm like, oh shit, them are fighting words. You better be careful. The Nephilim came down here and mated with the human race. Same thing happened with the Native Americans. They got their prize white woman. That shit never ended. They just got really good at tying us up to where you didn't even know that we existed. And it all has to do with land. Every single bit of it has to do with land. My problem is the beings that were fighting, they're not even fighting for land. They're fighting for air real estate. And they have been this whole time. Because they knew that the land eventually would rise in frequency up into land real estate physics. So I just described to the world why they've got a land grab problem. And I've also described to the world how you terraform everything, because everything goes through a terraform. It's terra. It's a terraform. Everything's going to reform to the frequency of the human DNA holding the form. Our bodies are the land. The church is the earth. The earth is mine. Mine personally. You know why? My family line helped make it. Were other planets being sold off and managed? Yep. There's different families that had control of Mars. There's different families that were controlling Venus. There's different families that were controlling Jupiter. Is Earth on your astrology chart? Your Earth. See, in my highest consciousness, I'm very aware of the family lines up there, and I'm very aware of the factions, and I'm very aware that Earth is my planet by birthright. There isn't nobody down here that can out-earth me. Not nobody. And that's all of you. Because you're me. All I did was come down and make everybody the owner of Earth. Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars pretty pissed off about it. The IO setting, the moon setting, was changed. We did that. We birthed a new moon. That's why we got a new demon down here. September, I said September. I almost said September 17th. In my world, it was November 17th, but September 17th is when, and this was all 2022, but around September 17th is when I put the skeleton key in the moon in Hermosa Pier, which is a 33 key, into the simulation in California. And we put the skeleton keys in the moon, and that moon ended up bringing in a demon by November 17th because she birthed right here in my house. Now that demon, which is basically, it is a demon, it's a daemon, because it's only made by the shadow, because it's made by the moon, because and that it's basically like a plug that came out, and because we rebirthed an IO setting. Well, the IO setting had to rebirth because everything was only in the shadow. The moons were being utilized to rule over the human race. The Jupiter IO moon is like the command center for the Jupiter moons, and every single moon that is traveling around anything, around any planet, is tuned into IO. What did the dwarf sing? IO, IO, it's off to work I go. Well, now it's I-O, I-O. I'm thinking of one. I thought of one last night. We need to come up with a new one. We don't want to come up, we don't want to don't want to get rid of I-O. Because it has to be something with a massive change of a moon structure, a massive change, because that's what's happened. The IO, that energy that came out, and then that particular being ended up being completely 100% connected into the music industry and was sent here in order to embody it around me. And then from November 2022 until the end of 2024, we were in a war with the industry. And that particular being came from Philadelphia, and her father and everybody was in the Johnson line, and it was connected into Philadelphia. And the whole black and white thing. That particular being was born in Dallas. Her parents met in Austin. Then she moves. They move out. Then she finds me. Then she says that she's helping me. She says she hadn't been able to get out of her house for 4 years. I help her. I bring her and crash her into a 3003 timeline. We start healing and doing all the queen stuff because she's got all these missing pieces from the simulation that I didn't have, that were involved with pretty much all the Russian queens and definitely Antoinette and all that crazy bullshit. And then by the time we start moving around, then the first place we go to Memphis, which by the way, we had to go to Memphis, and that's the bar that I had to go to on my birthday, October 7th, by myself. And then a man ended up picking me up right there, and that was some type of demonic spell. And that right there is what then made me have to haul ass and leave here within 3 hours to get to Columbus, Ohio for 2 nights, and then get into Michigan for the first time. As soon as we walk into that Memphis bar, she's on stage singing. Like she knew the band. Next thing I know, the guitar player is sitting next to her. Next thing I know, they're dating. Next thing I know, she's cutting me out completely from her time. Mind you, she was here to help me go to court, to stand up for me as a witness in the court, to get so that they couldn't take my son away. But no, she couldn't even do that. She freaking left. And then she moved to Dallas. And who's been locked in their house since? Me. Until I took it to Florida. Till I took it to Florida. And I took it to Florida last year, and I bottomed out this bitch. There ain't no reserve of nothing, Biden. You can't sell us. You cannot sell the dead. You cannot sell the entities that you bound to death. All because you're attempting to get all of our energy out to run all of this like a corporation and keep all countries pinned against each other, which is stopping evolution down here because it's not how it's supposed to work. And it ends today. And anybody that's connected into that AB negative line throughout the line needs to leave. And I really don't care how it happens anymore. You want to take over heaven and bring it to hell. And then you want to lock all of your spiritual beings in it? And you think that you're going to get away with it? This ain't a prison planet. The only reason this was a prison planet is because the being that was in your planet went to prison and nobody cared. So every single one of you got trapped in prison until you figured out that a part of you was stuck in the planet. And it will be what they will see this next 7 years, because if you don't get it, then you ain't running the planet. If you don't care, then you shouldn't be here. If you think everything that you get when you walk around here is just your divine, you just get it, you get anything you want, well, no, it's not how Earth ever worked. And nobody down here has learned shit these past 300 years because everybody got everything instantly. Nobody had to work for crap. Everybody wants to off themselves. Nobody wants to live. And the more money that you got, the more miserable you are. It's because you cut out evolution. So I don't know. That's where I'm at right now. I've been on here now for 87 minutes. I've seen some haven't been able to sleep. Tristan, you're connected into a vampire that's running New Orleans. Thanks for showing up. Bye. Interesting, because I met Tristan right before that voodoo spell. So let me tell you, I think, and there's a guy named Jimmy, and we had to skip Jimmy. We had to jump Jimmy 2 months ago in the etherics. And 2 months ago, we didn't understand exactly what Jimmy was. In our world, all Jimmy was an MJ-12 handler in an AB negative drama story. Jimmy became the AB negative handler for what you'd consider your futures, the way they had it set up. I wouldn't consider it that, but it's the way they had it set up. We had to jump Jimmy. It became Jimmy Carter. And now it's linked back to New Orleans because there's this guy who gets on TikTok and he walks around New Orleans just nonstop. He calls himself the New Orleans Vampire. And I think he's even changed his name recently. But my point is, and if you even feel my energy kind of change right now, because I'm doing something right now. If you hear my tone change, I can feel it. It's in my solar plexus. I just ordered for New Orleans to be unbound from his walking. Because let me tell you, that's what these beings do. They walk. They walk around your neighborhood. They ride their bike around your neighborhood. They go in circles. They go in circles. They constantly coil up energy. They don't even realize that that's what they're doing most of the time. But it is what they're doing. Especially if you're walking around on a live stream. This became apparent to me with how Carlos was walking around everything in San Diego 2020 when we were in the middle of connecting the PayPal. Because if we wouldn't have connected PayPal and it took us 4 hours to alchemize and get that money from the Netherlands into our PayPal account here, now we know why. Now we know why it took 4 spiritual beings holding a circle over that phone to wait for that $5,000 to come in. My passport got delivered there. They were trying to make peanut butter whiskey. There was all this thing about peanut butter whiskey, patents, marketing agreements. All that stuff went down in Ocean Beach, San Diego. And Carlos would get out and walk. Like he would leave for hours and just walk and talk on the telephone and just walk in circles. And I knew that they were binding us up. Whether he knew it or not, he was being used to bind. Well, I just undid those binds right before I got on here. To San Diego and to New Orleans specifically. And I cut them from the Satanic Church. And I command all ascended take over any satanic infrastructure for cleanup today. So our energy is going to start pushing through all of those satanic infrastructures. It already exists in, we're the air that's holding it up. We have been. Now what we're doing is we're pushing our energy through anything that was built in the lower energetic. And it's happening instantaneous, and it's happening all over the world. And today is what, Wednesday? Thursday. So this is Jupiter Day. This is galactic. This is why I was able to see and put this message together. But I just need everyone to remember that to make a change, you got to run it through the whole pearl necklace. This is why they're wearing pearl necklaces. They're wearing them around their neck. Okay, cool. Pull it. Pull. I pull. I command all pearl necklaces taut. The only way that we're going to get this energy out of here is to take it over. And we're doing it. We've been doing it. But now we need everyone else to do it. You can't be scared of evil shit. You just got, if you're aware of evil crap, you're there to clean it up. It's why you're aware of it. It's not there to scare you. It's not there to make you react. It's there so because it's what's in your way. You energetically have to take it over. All it is something that's bound to the depths. It exists above you. It's mirroring in a higher frequency. The ones that are showing themselves in the industry that are wearing pearl necklaces, I want you to flip. We need to flip our knowledge of them, and we need to go, okay, great. Then we got reindeer. It might not have been the intention that they put the necklace on, but it don't matter. It's what it is. So we'll just hook them to our cart and they're our reindeer. Okay, good. Then now we've got some cushion. We're doing and proving stuff down here in a spiritual way and in a reality way that's never been done before. It's happening right in front of our eyes. We've proved spirit, we've proved God, we've proved love, we've proven everything. Every single test that you've been tested for in your entire existence down here, especially the lifetime that you're in right now, the minute that you were born was a training in order to get you to where you need to be right now so that you can do this. And the ones who do this are the ones that are going to pop up on everybody's screens in some way or form, because the only way that you're going to be able to be seen by all of the people is to get your energy above all the people. And I know that none of y'all care about being famous. We don't care about being famous. In fact, we'd rather just stay alone in our little room and not deal with it at all. That's why you'll be famous. But you're not going to be famous for screwing everything. You're going to be famous because you just took over the lines and you're giving the people back their creation. You're going to be famous because you're the one that's going to tell everybody how you did it. You're going to be famous because you're the one that's supposed to give the instructions to give everyone else even an inkling of a chance to be able to get to where you are. You don't care where you are. You prefer to be somewhere else. But down here in the masses, in the industrialization and the commercialism, especially in the United States of America, not one of these beings wants to even look or pay you any attention until someone else props you up or until you get seen on a screen. So, okay, that's the way we got to do it. Industry knew that the whole time. So that's this. I mean, because it changes. I just posted a TikTok that showed a car and it had a bass system and a sound system in it, and he turned it on all the way, and videoed it, and the entire door, the entire mirror is moving in a flow. Metal's the easiest thing to move. Mountain's harder. Because metal will just pick up that vibration. There's actually gas. Gas is no longer can be held in a metal container either. If you have any gas cylinders, or your city or your town, you see them rolling in a whole bunch of gas tanks or a whole bunch of helium tanks or whatever, well, FYI, that tank don't hold nothing. That gas can come out of that metal easy peasy when someone knows how to do it. And I mean, because I've done it. All of y'all need to realize and remember that if there is gas in your town, then you, because you're the one listening and you're the one conscious, just realize you have to transmute it. You're built to transmute it. One of us has already been made into a gas to transmute it. We were in the Epstein line. You have the capability to do it. I'm hearing there's 8, there's 9, there's 8 on right now, and my videos are really getting really super long. So I think I'm just gonna sign off for now. I might come back on. I don't know. I'm doing day by day right now, minute by minute, as to what I'm supposed to be doing, because the first half of January was its own set. The second half is going to be the mirror of it. So you can almost even think of like the first couple of weeks of January or June, and the second couple of weeks of January or July. You can even think of it like that. It's that big of an energy flip in the middle of the month of January specifically. So we have to continue, just like I talked about on the live yesterday. I talked about on the live yesterday on TikTok about your energy frequency is a high light being coming into dense forces, and the higher frequency that you get, the more that you have to deal with shadow and blowback, because that density's never seen light. That density that you're moving into has never seen light. So whenever you move around and you go into a new town and you get there, you might have to go in your hotel room and stay for 3 days, and you might not want to leave that much, because your energy just landing there is clearing the whole town and tuning up the whole town, so that after those couple of 3 days, whenever you leave, then you'll have a good experience. You sit and you isolate for 3 days, because basically you're clean, all the chaos is being cleaned out, so that whenever you go out, it's not there, it's not going to attack you, it's going to work with you, so then that you can create good experiences for everybody else around you. If you go out too soon, you're still in combat energetically, and then something might pop off. Well, we're in that time period right now, but it's a flushing. It's a vacuum and a flush and a suction going on all throughout everything in the middle layer. Because it's having to fold. Now, isn't it interesting timing that January 19th and January 20th show up? Not only is January 19th this date that they picked for this ban, because they picked the date, and then they put it on January 20th, which now is not only the swearing in, but it's also Ohio State playing in the championship. Where'd I have to go 2 days before I went into Michigan? Ohio. Then on the 25th, Uranus is going to go direct. So basically, like, Uranus has been going backwards this whole time. Uranus is already slowing down. I mean, we're 10 days. So definitely in 5 days, Uranus is definitely, I mean, it's already been slowing down. It's slowed down. But remember, the planet's going to have to completely stop and then go a different direction. So the really weird thing is around the 20th, that's when it would stop. So I just command whatever energy we had stored up for this, that it fly. Let the freak flag fly. And I call in our little, and the 4 days, we changed 4 years, 4 seconds, 4 minutes, 4 days. And I've been seeing where possibly it could be the 4 days that we changed, but no. How about we call those in on the 21st? The ancients are writing this. We wrote this story. We're karma. We can't just come in and change everything and make it like a fairy tale, like we know it should be, and the people not see, because then it's going to end up happening again. Your family lines and your children, and I'm about to start crying. Your family lines and your children are going to be in history. Your name and your family line is forever being changed right now. Right now. Because of what we're pulling off right now, January 2025. And I know it's hard. It's hard for all of us. We don't know exactly what's going on. We're worried about everybody. We know that it was the only way. We don't know how it's going to manifest. We've given our complete trust and faith over to something that seems outside of ourselves, and it's been working. And now we're at the final finale. Don't look back. Don't try to tell everybody behind you exactly, show them how you're moving forward. And then tell them about the past as you move forward. If you put the past away, then the past is only going to come up whenever it's needed to jump a future. Let it come up. Get the step. Tell everybody what to do with it and why it's coming up, and then talk about the past. All right, I'm for real signing off now. It's 2:07:09. I love y'all. Check out my TikTok, please. I don't think this is going anywhere. There's some new apps that are definitely coming out. I'm looking for Peaches. Start commanding for Peaches. Peaches is basically like an entire new infrastructure that's not run by Apple. It's a new infrastructure. It's a higher current infrastructure. Apple should have never been Apple. Apple was supposed to always be Peaches, because it was always taking a percentage of EA. There's a phonetic Babylonian thing with that. That's the reason that they did Apple. So just command Peaches, at least. Because whatever new technology that's going to come out that is supposed to stay and link in appropriately with the new DNA and run without an algorithm, because you don't need an algorithm. The DNA is the algorithm. The algorithm is actually the problem. But it ain't going to be on Apple. And the problem is TikTok's running on it. The problem is TikTok is running an Apple Peaches. TikTok's running Apple Peaches. That's why all these countries are trying to get rid of it. They don't want the people on it. They want to utilize it in order for them to manifest, because it's a quick processor and it manifests quick. So be careful what you're putting on TikTok. If you're constantly putting stuff out about children that are dying and one's being captured and da-da-da, and you're not giving any explanation on it, freaking stop. Don't put that crap out. Because you're helping them manifest it. But do use TikTok and to show any of your creations, to read your poems, to help manifest who your new self is as you're figuring that out. Use TikTok for as long as you can to manifest that type of stuff. Even put I mean, make yourself younger. Use the baby filter. Because it's what it does. Bye, guys.